Good afternoon to you. Welcome to Inside Health on Signature Television, a health show where we bring you, information, health tips, and discuss topical health issues that will help you take charge of your health and well-being. I'm your host, Chigichi Agorum. Well, today we are discussing glaucoma, the silent thief of vision. Well, in commemoration of International Glaucoma Week, we're going to be talking exactly what it is. What is glaucoma? What are the types of glaucoma? How do you manage glaucoma? And why is it referred to as the silent thief of vision? Well, our guest for this edition is an expert. I'm going to introduce him right after this time out because he's going to be busting some myths and giving us information as to possible prevention, treatment, and management of glaucoma. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Well, many thanks if you're just joining us. This is still Inside Health on Signature TV, and the topic is glaucoma, the silent thief of vision. Our guest, like I mentioned earlier, is an expert. He is a consultant ophthalmologist. He is also the General Secretary, Nigerian Medical Association, Enugu Chapter, Dr. Chima Edeoga. Good morning, Dr. Edeoga. Thank you for coming back to talk with us on this show.
Good afternoon, sorry. Good afternoon, viewers.
Good afternoon. I should take a cue from you. Good afternoon. All right, so it's International Glaucoma Week, where, of course, there's a lot of awareness about, glaucoma. So I want you to explain to us what exactly is glaucoma, because it's some sort of a buzzword in the health ecosystem. Everybody talks about glaucoma, but a very limited number of people know exactly what it entails to have glaucoma. So to a non-medical ear, all right, so what is glaucoma?
Okay, thank you very much. Glaucoma is a group of eye diseases that affect the part of the eye that is known as the optic nerve. The optic nerve is a nerve that relays everything someone sees from the eyes to the brain.
Okay.
So that's the nerve. So we know that the brain controls different activities of the human being. So you have different nerves. So the glaucoma particularly affects the optic nerve.
Okay.
So this glaucoma is a big problem that made the entire world to dedicate a whole week, usually the second week of the month of March, to raise awareness concerning this problem, which damages irreversibly. That is why it is a big problem. It causes irreversible vision loss, and if it is not prevented, it will give you irreversible blindness. So vision loss is that your vision will go down, and blindness is that you are not able to see with your eye, in layman's terms. So basically, glaucoma is a group of diseases. There are different types, but they generally lead to the damage of that nerve that connects your brain to your eyes, and is a progressive disease, is an irreversible disease. So why it is called the silent thief of vision is that most of the times, the commonest one, when somebody has it, they may not know. So they will be losing their vision in small amounts. They will not know. They will losing their vision. They may just feel as if something is just until maybe when they suddenly notice that maybe one eye cannot see again, because some patients that come to us, how they got to know that their eyes, or one of the eyes, because usually what they call asymmetric, meaning that it affects both eyes, but affects one eye more than the other. So maybe playing with the child mistakenly covers the good eye, and suddenly the person just realizes there and there that other eye cannot see again. Because what happens is that when you open your two eyes, there is an overlap between the vision of the right eye and the vision of the left eye. So there is some form of compensation. So if you have problem with a side of maybe your left eye, the right eye may be compensating for it if the two
And
eyes
you
are
won't
open,
even know.
and you will not know. So how you will know is you cover your right eye. So I want to encourage our viewers, from time to time, you can do these tests. You can just use the palm of your hand, cover one eye, see what the left eye can see. Then use the left palm, cover the left eye, see what your right eye can see. Is there any difference between the two eyes? You know, and then there is another thing with field of vision, because glaucoma affects the peripheral vision before it affects the central vision. So, for instance, if somebody notices that sometimes they'll be stumbling on the side of chairs, they won't see the chairs on the side, and they will just stumble and kick the chair. So it's a sign, but at that time the glaucoma has already advanced.
Progressed.
Then you see drivers, they will not be seeing cars by the side of their side, and they are maybe having constant accidents. You know, it gives you an idea that peripheral vision is lost. So glaucoma usually affects the vision in the periphery and then continues until it enters into the center of the vision and then affects the center of the vision.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there are other types of eye defects or eye issues. There's astigmatism, there's myopia, there's long-sightedness. I've forgotten what is called a medical term, but there are a lot of eye issues. How can you distinguish glaucoma from those other eye issues?
Okay. The ones you've mentioned now, they are known as refractive error.
What does that mean?
So refractive error is that your eyes are not refracting objects that are placed in front of it well. If it is myopia, it means that the object that is placed in front of the eye is focused in front of the retina. The retina is the back of the eye that receives the images of objects. If it is
like a mirror.
Yes, like a mirror. So if it is long-sightedness, the object is focused behind the retina. So now, if for you to have clear vision, that object has to be focused by your eye on the retina for that object to appear clearly. So you now see people who have myopia, they will only be seeing things that are close. So when you put things far from them, they will not see, because that object is going to be focused in front of the eye. So it will be blurred. If it is long-sightedness, they're able to see long things, but when you are bringing it closer, the images will be focused behind the eye. So now, those type of patients, what they require spectacles. I don't know maybe whether the one you are wearing, you know, has a correction.
Yes,
so
it does.
it can be reversed, it can be corrected, whether it is short-sightedness, which is called myopia, or whether it is long-sightedness, which is called hypermetropia or hyperopia, or if you have astigmatism. So then you also have the one that affects people once they get to the age of 40 years. They develop what they call presbyopia, meaning that they require glasses to be able to read small prints, like prints on small Bible, small newspaper, you know. So those ones are reversible. Then you also have the one they call cataracts. It happens to people, it can happen to a child, but most often it happens to people who are old, you know, 40, 45 years. The lens inside the eye begins to whiten. Most people, once they get to 40, 45, have some level of cataract. But some people can tolerate their own and it doesn't impact on their vision. But those that it impacts on their vision, they will require to do surgery. And that surgery, when it is done by a trained eye doctor called an ophthalmologist, he can reverse the vision loss and the person regain the vision. So you could see that all these ones I've mentioned are reversible. You know, they are things that you can do something and the person will have a vision restoration. But glaucoma is different. Glaucoma is progressive and irreversible. And the treatment is to either stop the progression or to reduce the progression. You cannot reverse the
So
damage
it's actually about management.
that it causes. So that is what differentiates glaucoma from the other eye problem. You also have other eye problem that causes progressive vision loss, but they are not as common as glaucoma. Glaucoma is very common, and surprisingly, people in West Africa, have a high prevalence. So you have more people from West Africa having a high prevalence. Then when you come to West Africa, you have more people of Igbo origin.
Really?
That's,
According to research?
Yes, that have a problem from glaucoma. So it's something that, strikes home. You can rarely see a family that does not have one person or more having this problem of glaucoma. So it's a very, very important public health issue, which people need to be aware of and need to, especially if you have a family member who has glaucoma. So now, if you have a family member who has glaucoma, your risk increases by 2 to 4 times. So just by having a family member...
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
Now, why is glaucoma? I know you have spoken to this in the course of our discussion so far, but I want you to expand on it.
Yeah.
Why is glaucoma silent? Why is it called a silent thief? It's a thief, nonetheless, but it is silent.
Yeah.
So why is it called a silent thief of vision?
Okay, so the silence is that, if you use a thief, when a thief comes into the house, it makes noise. It can wake you up and you know that the thief is in the house. But when the thief has mastered the art of silence,
Stealth.
the thief can actually steal things from your house and you'll be sleeping. You will not wake up. Okay, the thief may even go by, maybe come by 1 a.m., steal, go, come back around 2 a.m., silently steal, go. He continue to come back until maybe 5 a.m. and when he finishes, he just close the door and all and just go. So when the person wakes up, the person may not even know that something was stolen until maybe when the person needs it. The person will now see that something was stolen. So in the same vein, when glaucoma is damaging the eye, it damages it quietly. So in the nerve that I talked about, the optic nerve, it has maybe around 1 million fibers. So you have small fibers or ropes inside the nerve. So it will be damaging the fibers every day. In fact, it's actually on a per second, per minute, per hour, but it is damaging it little by little. But because the eye has a very large reserve, so even if the eye is damaged by 50%, you will still be seeing because of the fidelity of the eye. But when you now subject the eye to scrutiny, tests in the eye clinic, those defects will begin to show. But normal day-to-day activity, you may not know it. So that is why it is silent, because it steals the vision little by little, that the person that is having the problem may not even know until it is too late.
Absolutely.
So that is why it got that name, silent thief of vision.
Now, you did mention that there's a higher prevalence among the black folk and even higher among those from the Igbo extract.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at the name glaucoma. I don't know the roots, word for glaucoma. I'm also thinking glucose, glaucoma, glucose. Do you think it's because of our high consumption of starch and sugar that could be a predisposing factor?
Okay, in disease processes, there's what they call nurture and there's what they call nature. So for nurture is your environment, the food you consume, and your lifestyle. So those are the things that constitute nurture. Nature is usually genetic. They can be found in your genes. There are millions of genetic material that is stored in every cell. For glaucoma, is mostly genetic than nurture. So you also have other types that can develop through maybe trauma. If somebody hits your eye, you can develop glaucoma from it. But the normal natural processes for glaucoma are usually of genetic origin. So there has been several tests. Take for instance, if you give birth to twins that are identical, so when you look at them, There is nothing to differentiate one from the other. You keep one in Nigeria and then take one to, let's say, the West that has very good weather, very good economy and all. And the family history of those twins has a lot of glaucoma. Maybe the mother has glaucoma and their father has glaucoma, and they have that gene to develop glaucoma. Even though you have changed environments, even though you have changed the food they eat, the probability of two of them getting glaucoma is almost the same, with different environment, because they are identical. They share similar genetic makeup. So that goes to show you that the problem of glaucoma is more genetic than it is maybe environmental or what we eat. Now, there was a study that was done in 2005, 2007. It was a national study. You know,
it has to be a longitudinal study for it to last that long.
Yes, yes. It took like 2 years. So this study had people that they checked their eyes across the country, the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And you know that the Igbo tribe, for instance, are predominantly located in the southeast. You know, even though they are also located in other parts of Nigeria. So when they finished their study, they discovered that people who were from the southeast had more problem associated with glaucoma. You know, and the south is ranked #1 in terms of visual impairments that was coming from glaucoma. And it is a big problem, because one is that if you know that you belong to a tribe that has a higher risk of having glaucoma, that means you should be able to go and have your eyes tested. So eye test is not an expensive thing to do. Sometimes you have free screenings, but at other times you can just walk into a clinic, either a government clinic or a private clinic, and just tell them that you want to screen your eyes for glaucoma, especially if you know that you are a black, or maybe you are Igbo, or you have a family history. And then in family history, we have different ways of categorizing family history. We have first degree family relative, we have second degree family relative. So first degree is the relative that is directly linked to you. So you have the vertical one, that is the people that give birth to you, the mother and the father. Then you have your siblings, your brothers, your sisters, so they are first degree. Then your children, you know, they're also your first degree relatives. So if you have any of these people having it, then you now have second degree, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins. You know, so because there is this thing with genetic diseases, they can skip generation. So you could have a situation whereby a parent may not give it to their child, but their child is carrying that gene, but they are not expressing it. So when they give birth to the next generation, then that next generation will have it. So when we usually ask questions in the clinic, we want to find out, is there any history of blindness in the family? Not just your parents, but even your uncles, your aunties, your grandparents, because sometimes it skips generation, but most of the times it does not skip generation. So you have different variants in the genes, and you know, but we are actively studying it so that we could actually, assuming somebody does a genetic study, you will know whether you have the gene that predisposes you to glaucoma, so that if you may be thinking of doing a glaucoma test once every year, because you may have the gene, you may not decide to be doing it once every 3 months. Yeah. So, you know, that time is coming where people can map their genes and know whether they have genes that predispose to glaucoma or not, because there are several of those genes that have been mapped. Brilliant. So we are currently doing some genetic studies from people of African origin, people of Igbo origin, and we are discovering that there are some genetic makeup of some of these people that predispose them to having glaucoma.
Oh, genetics is truly an interesting phenomenon, and genetic mapping is not cheap. So I'm wondering, but that is not where I'm going to. Yeah. You have talked about genetics. You've talked about your race. Talking about predisposing factors. Are there other, you know, minimal factors that can predispose one to glaucoma?
So one is age. You know, everybody, as you are growing, you're getting older. So usually when you get to 40, 45, your risk for having glaucoma, you know, goes up. Glaucoma can affect any age group, but usually affects
older.
the older age group. We have had situations of children who are less than 1 year who develop glaucoma. So theirs, because their eyes are still growing, so you have an increase in the eye pressure because it's one of the features of glaucoma, but it's not compulsory that your pressure must be high. But most glaucoma, actually the one they call the primary open angle glaucoma, the pressures are usually high. So now the child has the one they call congenital glaucoma. So the pressure in the eye gets high.
Congenital means that the mother probably passed it on to the child?
But it came with the child. The child is born with it. So it begins to manifest at that tender age. So the pressure in the eye begins to increase because the eye is still growing. So the eye will become big. So
what do you mean by big? Physically?
Yes.
Bulgy?
Yes. So the child will have big eyes. So in the eye you have the white part of the eye, and then you have the black part of the eye. So you notice that the black part of this eye is actually bigger than maybe other children of their age. So when you begin to notice such things, then it can also become a little bit blue. That black part of the eye will become a little bit blue. Why? Because the pressure in the eye accumulates. It makes the front part of the eye not to be clear. It makes it to be cloudy. And that cloudy gives you that sense of bluish discoloration.
Some people will see it as a beauty mark or something.
No.
Blue-eyed black person.
No. If you discover that, especially for a young child, increase in size of the eye is bulging, you discover that the front of the eye is a little bit hazy, then the child is tearing. So those three signs is highly suggestive that you may be dealing with a congenital glaucoma. Then you also have the one that affects people that grow old normally. And then you have the one that I mentioned that is as a result of trauma. So you could have maybe people who maybe they hit their eye when they are younger. They can develop glaucoma after 10, 15 years. So that type, it has its own name. So I mentioned the genes, I've mentioned age, I've also mentioned trauma. Then you also have other things, other abnormalities that may develop in the eye that may predispose the patient to develop.
So you're saying diet is not one of it?
Is not a good association. Diet can give you what they call optic atrophy, especially if you are lacking some particular vitamin B's in your diet. So that one is not glaucoma, but it still damages the optic nerve, which is the wire that connects the eye to the brain. So especially people that smoke or people that take alcohol. People that take alcohol, they forget to eat or they lose appetite. So they usually develop problems with their vitamins. And you have some vitamins that are essential for nerves to transmit without any problem. So if you don't take those vitamins in your food, you are going to...
What are some of those vitamins?
You have mostly the vitamin B complex. You have the vitamin B12, vitamin B6. There are different vitamins in vitamin B. So vitamin B in particular. Then vitamin A is not necessarily connected with glaucoma. It's important for you to develop your vision, especially vision in the night. So if you don't have good vitamin B in your diet over time, you can develop night blindness. It can also make your cornea, the front part of your eye, to become very weak, and you have what they call beetle spots or malacia. So those ones happen in children who are severely malnourished and don't have that vitamin A in their diet. So vitamins or baby diet is not usually that's associated with glaucoma. So these are the common causes or common predisposing factors to glaucoma. You also have some of the things, but these are the major predisposing factors to somebody developing glaucoma.
All right, there's this question I'm going to ask you before we call for a break. So I'll need you to just answer it as quickly as you can. Now, there's people that you look into their eyes and you see some kind of growths, encroach from the white of the eye to the black part of the eye. Is that glaucoma? Is that a symptom of glaucoma, a physical symptom of glaucoma?
No. So that one is called pterygium, Pterygum, or it can also be pingueculum. So those ones usually occur in the middle part of the eye because that's the part of the eye that is exposed when you are seeing.
Okay.
Usually people that live in the tropics, so UV lights and all. So, but those ones only happen on the top of the eye. It doesn't affect the optic nerve. So, it's not one of the signs or features of glaucoma. It's a different,
different
disease condition
Okay.
on its own.
Let me take you back to the
yeah.
predisposing factors. Are there some sicknesses or some ailments that can predispose one to glaucoma? For example, there's this talk that diabetes can actually cause eye issues. So are there some ailments that can predispose an individual to
Yes,
glaucoma?
so now I was talking mostly about primary causes. So you now have secondary causes.
Okay.
So, for instance, diabetes, if you don't control the blood sugar well, it can damage different organs and different systems in the body. And one of the organs that diabetes can damage are the eyes. So what diabetes does is that it makes your eyes to have problem with the blood vessels. And then the blood vessels will bleed. You have new blood vessels. And these blood vessels can go to the angle of the eye, which is the part of the eye that drains water away from the eye. So when it blocks the angle of the eye, the pressure in the eye begins to accumulate. And when the pressure accumulates, they will now damage the optic nerve and now give you glaucoma. So it's not a primary thing, it's a secondary thing. So when you have these conditions that damage or increase the eye pressure, they can give you glaucoma. So those ones are discussed under secondary glaucoma. So they are different. Then for primary glaucoma, it can either happen when the child is born, congenital, or then you also have the one they call acute angle closure. So those ones are usually dramatic. Maybe somebody is having a closed angle. Remember the angle where the water drains from the eyes. Okay, maybe after the break we can discuss that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, so we are still talking glaucoma, the silent thief of vision, and we still have Dr. Chima Edeoga in the studio. Let's go for a short break, and when we get back, we'll start discussing real life experiences with glaucoma. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Many thanks for still staying with us. Don't forget, we are still discussing glaucoma in commemoration of International Glaucoma Week. All right, Doc, before we went on the break, you were talking about a particular type of glaucoma. Can you finish up with it before we call up our real-life experiences with the eye issue?
Okay, so the glaucoma broadly is divided into two types. So you have the open angle and then you have the closed angle. So there is a part of the eye that is called the angle. So the eye produces fluid or water in the back of the eye, and then it moves through. If you look at somebody's eyes, there is a small hole in the center of the eye that when you shine light, it will close. When you remove light, it will open up. So that's called the pupil. So the water moves from the back of the eye through the pupil into the front of the eye and then moves away through the angles. So now the angles can be open, the angles can be closed, or the angles can be what they call occludable. That means they can easily close. They are open, but open to a small extent. Then you have the ones that are very open and they cannot close. So now, if somebody has, usually graded from maybe 0 to 4, somebody has like 1 or 2, then the person has occludable angle. So now, if for instance the person is in a dark room, You know, when you're in a dark room, your eyes, your pupil will dilate. And when they dilate, your angles are more closed when they dilate. So they may notice that when they are in a dark room, they are having pains in their eyes. So it's one of the things that may suggest that they have some form of closed angle. When you are in a dark room and you are trying to see and your eyes are paining, you may need to come for an eye test to know whether your angles are closed. So people that have that type of glaucoma is that normally they are having very good vision. Suddenly they start having severe pain, and the pain may be so intense that they may even begin to vomit. So that one is usually acute onset. Acute in terms of that it happens within seconds to minutes to hours, unlike glaucoma that can happen over years. That's the open angle type. So that one usually bring the patient to the hospital immediately. It comes with headache. The eyes will be red, the vision will drop, the eye may even become cloudy. So those ones are acute. They show up immediately. And when the person comes, we make a diagnosis of glaucoma and then we begin to treat. Yeah.
Okay, so we have some real life experiences that we gleaned from the internet. I'm going to just run through it and see some lessons that we can draw from that. So this is from Aisha. She's from Kaduna State. She's 42 years old. She's a mother of two. She says she has always been careful with her health, but never thought much about her eyes. Then one day while at work, she noticed a dark spot in her vision, in her peripheral vision. Well, at first she shrugged it off as fatigue, but the spot gradually grew larger. She decided to visit an optometrist, right, who recommended seeing a specialist. And after a few tests, Aisha was diagnosed with glaucoma, a condition she had never heard of, before now. So Aisha's doctor explained that her high intraocular pressure was damaging her optic nerve, and while she had already lost some vision, treatment could still help preserve what was left. Just like you said, you just reduce the progression. Okay, so though the news was frightening, Aisha felt relieved knowing that with proper management, her vision could be preserved. And this was us trying to summarize the whole story. Now, Aisha's glaucoma was caught relatively early. Would you agree with that? And what are some other signs that someone could look out for early so as to, ensure early detection and good prognosis at the end of the day?
Okay, so like in the beginning of the program, I gave a simple test that somebody can do. So it's something that you can do from your house. You could check, close one eye, check, know what your eyes can see. Not just the clarity of what you can see, but the extent of your vision. So if for instance, you know the extent of your vision and you know the clarity of your vision, and you check your eyes maybe once every week, once every month, if it is beginning to go down, you are going to notice that either the field is diminishing or the clarity of object is going down. So it's a simple test that anybody can do, and you have to do it one eye at a time, because the right eye assists the left eye if both eyes are open, and vice versa, the left eye assists the right eye. So you do it one test, one eye at a time. So that is one. Two, if your glaucoma is the one that has high pressures, you may be having eye pains.
They mentioned Aisha had high intraocular pressure. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. So you may be having eye pains. Intraocular pressure that is normal usually ranges from around 10 to 21. But some people that have maybe 18, 17, they can also have glaucoma, even though it's within what is normal. So for you, some people may even have 25 and it is normal for them. So you now have other type of glaucoma that they call normal tension and high tension. So the high tension glaucoma has high pressure, while the normal tension has normal tension. So you now see that it's not just a function of the eye pressure. So if somebody has that eye pressure and it's very high, it may begin to pain the person, may begin to give the person headache. But most times it doesn't pain, it doesn't give the person headache, except maybe when it has gone to the end stage, where the pressures may become too high. So they usually call them malignant glaucoma. So glaucoma usually starts and is mild. Then it progresses to become moderate, then it progresses become severe or advanced, and then it now progresses to end stage. So it's difficult to detect glaucoma at mild stage. If somebody that is very careful and knows their eye may detect it at moderate stage, but most people present to the eye clinic at severe or advanced stages. So that is why that glaucoma is very dangerous, because people find it difficult to detect when it is mild and when it is. So the story that you gave, so it's called that dark patch is maybe it was a part of the visual field, because your visual field, you have the upper part of the visual field for every eye, you have the lower parts, you have the outer parts, and then you have the inner part. So it's divided into quadrants. So maybe the part of the nerve that is observing that quadrant became damaged, severely damaged, that she was able to now see dark patches in that spot. So that triggered her to come and seek for help. So she's already having damage in that quadrant. Maybe other quadrants may be okay. So that is why they categorize her as mild. But maybe one was more damaged than the other. Because what happens in glaucoma, like I said in the beginning, is that you have a constriction of your visual field. So you are not seeing things that are happening on the outside. So there's a simple test we do, because if you want to analyze the visual field, you either use a machine or you can use your hand. So you could close your one eye like this and keep your finger from outside, and then be wriggling it, just be looking straight, and then be bringing your finger. If you have to bring your finger so close to the center for you to be able to see the wriggling finger, that means you have lost peripheral vision. So it's one of the simple things that somebody can do at home. So you do it one eye at a time. You can do it from this side, you do it from up, you do it from down. So it is good that you do it so that you know what your visual field is at the moment. Then from time to time, you're doing it. So if you now notice that your finger has to come closer to the middle for you to see, that means you are losing your peripheral vision. So you need to come.
Brilliant. Talking about what people need to do for themselves, in terms of their eye care, there's this advice. There's this length of hours you should watch television, or you should use your phones, or you should use computer devices generally. What's your advice, and can it actually increase the progression of glaucoma by spending long hours on your devices, on your television?
Okay, spending long hours, what it will do is it will give you eye strain. It may make you to develop presbyopia earlier. Presbyopia, like I said in the beginning, you can develop it at around 40 years. So when you strain your eyes, you may develop it lesser. So most people, once you get to 40 or around 40, 38, 39, 41, 42, you will notice that you are not able to see small objects, except if you push it far from your eyes, or you use torchlight. So you notice that they are requiring more light to be able to read. So they have developed presbyopia. So what we advise is that you should have breaks. You should have breaks in between your reading. You shouldn't read 2 hours, more than 2 hours stretch. You should be able to stop, use like 20 minutes, rest your eyes, look far, look close. So those things is to just make your eyes more comfortable.
So how you rest your eyes is you go outside, probably.
You go outside, try and see further objects, then see near objects. Just relax, remove your eyes from what you are doing. Then you come back and continue what you are doing, but you must be able to break it. Then when you are using screens, because people use screens a lot, so the screens emit the type of light they call blue light. So blue light causes more eye strain, and it can also damage the eyes. So some people use, either you do use dark mode. Most devices have dark mode.
Dark mode.
Yes, so dark mode is good because it removes the blue light. You only see in black and white, and is more comfortable, calmer on the eyes. Some people in the past, they used to use screen guards or screen protectors. And then some phones also have settings that you can do to reduce the amount of blue light that is coming from your eyes. So those are things that people can do at home.
Moving on, tell us about, because there are several treatments for glaucoma. Well, for lack of a better word, but it's management, not treatment.
Yeah.
It can be treated. Now, tell us about surgery.
Surgery.
You're an ophthalmologist, a
Yeah.
consultant ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
How has the prognosis been generally when an individual comes to the point where it has to be surgery? Take us through the process and what is the prognosis?
Okay, before I go into the treatment, we have to make a diagnosis of this thing. So diagnosis entails doing what they call a visual acuity. Sometimes they can have good visual acuity. Then their visual field is impaired, like I was talking about. They will measure their eye pressure. Then we dilate their eyes. If the pressure is not high, we look into the eye and check whether the optic nerve is damaged or not. Then we give the patient to do some tests like they call pachymetry. Then there is one they call optical coherence tomography. They call it OCT. So when you are done and you have made diagnosis of glaucoma, you now know whether you are going to start the person on drugs or whether you are going to do laser or whether you are going to do surgery. So we usually start on drugs first, especially if the pressures are not that high, because there are different drugs that we have that can control the pressure. If the pressure is not well controlled with drugs, we can also try laser. Laser can also be tried before drugs. It depends on the decision of the doctor vis-a-vis the costs, and whether the patient can actually bear, because some of these things are not cheap. Then for the surgery is a very good option, especially for young patients. We usually recommend surgery for young patients. So people that are less than 20, less than 30, and they have glaucoma, and their glaucoma is far advanced, we recommend surgery for them, other than treatments. In the interim, we can give them laser treatment while they are waiting to be optimized for surgery. So surgery, they have different surgeries. You have the word that is known as minimally invasive glaucoma surgery, mix. You also have the one they call trabeculectomy. You have the one that they call tubes. And then you have other types that you can use laser to reduce the formation of fluid in the eye, thereby reducing the eye pressure. So those are the different kinds of surgery. But the commonest one is the trabeculectomy, where you are creating a different passage for that water that is in the eye, so that the water will be able to be coming out from the eye and then
Reduce the pressure.
Reducing the pressure, yeah.
All right.
So we have different experiences with glaucoma. Some people do well after glaucoma surgery. Some people do not do so well, but you cannot say that somebody meets the requirement for surgery and you not offer the person surgery, because the person is going to lose their sight. Because for you to need surgery, for that decision to be made, like I said, very young, or your pressures are not being controlled by either the drugs or maybe laser, then you require it. Because if you don't do it, you are going to lose your vision. Yeah.
All right, I would like to ask you about the affordability. Well, we're going to go on a short break because we're going to be busting some myths. You are going to be busting some myths, because there are some notions and mentalities out there that might not be so correct about glaucoma. So we'll go on a short break. I thank you for still staying with us. And when we get back, the doc in the house is going to be busting some myths around glaucoma. Please stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Thanks for still staying with us. We are still talking glaucoma, the silent thief of vision. Now, Doc, how affordable is glaucoma surgery in 1 minute?
Okay, it varies. You can go to a government hospital, it may be cheaper. It will be more expensive when you go to a private hospital. However, there are some private hospitals that you can also get it relatively, So I don't know what is cheap and what is and what is expensive, you know. So what I want to encourage people is, first of all, if you think that you have, or if you know that you have, one, you are already up to 40, you have a family history of glaucoma, you come and check. You know, some people don't require surgery. They require eye drops, you know, that they'll be using every day for the rest of their lives, because it's a chronic disease. So those eye drops, some of them are manufactured in Nigeria, some are imported from other countries. So the imported ones are usually more expensive than those that are manufactured within, because of exchange rates. For the surgery, there are some centers they call high volume centers, you know, that do 40, 50, 60 surgeries a day. So because they are doing high volume, they may lower the cost of their surgeries. So the patient is going to get the surgeries at a relatively cheaper rate than, but I'm not going to be mentioning specifics of amounts on the news, because some people may not maybe feel that it's too expensive for them. So what we just encourage them is to come to a hospital that has an ophthalmologist and get your eyes screened. And if you have it, you'll be given options. Yeah, depending on factors like your age, the extent of the disease, even for instance, we offer surgery to people who have advanced glaucoma who are not able to continue on their drugs, because the drugs, they add up over time. You know, I'll give us an example. If maybe all your drugs will come to around 15,000 naira every month, in a year, it will be 180,000 naira in a year. Some people may not afford to be using 180,000 naira every year on just the eye drops. They need to eat food, they need to pay for their children's school fees and all. But with that same amount or even lesser, you can have surgery done and you may not require to use medications again. Or even if you require it, you may not require the number that you are using before.
Okay. All right, so we actually have time for a couple of myths for you to bust, 2 or 3 of them. Number 1 myth: if you have glaucoma, you will definitely go blind. Is that a myth or is it a fact?
It is not a fact, it's a myth.
Okay, can you expand a little bit?
If you control your glaucoma, you are not going to progress like if you are not receiving treatment. So the main fact is for you to reduce progression, because it's a progressive disease if you don't do anything to it. So now the treatment is to stop the progression or to slow the progression. So if, for instance, the person was programmed genetically to get blind at 50 years, and the person comes to us at 30, we discover the person has glaucoma. We begin to monitor this person, and the person is compliant with the treatment options the person is given. The person may still be seen at 70, 80 years of age, even though genetically the person was programmed to become blind at a much earlier age. So the myth is not that you must lose your vision, no. Okay. If you manage it well, the problem is that people do not stick to their treatment regimen. You know, you give them 2 months appointments, they come after 2 years. So and within that time they don't come, they may not be using their medications, or they may not be using it well, even though you are using it, maybe because of some consideration like cost. Somebody may be on 3 medications and does not have funds to buy all the 3, but may just buy 1. Yes, the person is taking glaucoma medications in quotes, but the person is not getting the best out of the treatment, and the person may still be having progression of their glaucoma.
And finally, in 1 minute, glaucoma causes nerve pain.
Nerve pain?
Yes.
Nerve pain, I won't say that it causes nerve pain.
Maybe talking about the nerves in the eyes, the supply to the eyes, so causing some kind of pain around the eyes.
If the pressures become high, either in the acute type or in the open type that the pressure is high, yes, it may give you pain, it may stretch the eye, and the nerves that are part of the nerves that sense stretch, they may interpret it as pain. So like acute type, once the pressure goes high, person start having severe pain in the eye, headaches, and also yes, glaucoma can give you nerve pain. But what about the ones that is normal tension and that does not have high? So it's not
So
pain. Is not
yes,
pain. Is not
shouldn't be the
yes, because you may be waiting to have pain. You may never have pain, and your glaucoma has advanced to very bad stages.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Chima Edeoga. It's a pleasure to have you come and expound on some issues. I'm afraid that's the much we can take today on our topic, glaucoma, the silent thief of vision. I'm sure you must have gleaned a thing or two to help you in taking care of your eye. Don't forget, health is your wealth. Take charge of your health. I'm your host, Chigichi Agorom, and bye for now.